Good evening, good evening, good evening. If you can hear me loud and clear, please go ahead and type your name and type where you're joining us from. This is a live session we are going to have. It's going to be straight to the point. We're going to learn so much. I have had so much value prepared for this session, and I'm super excited to share what I have found with you out there so that together we can grow towards a certain future. And I'm using certain with a heavy pan on it, because once you know exactly where you're going, then you know exactly how you want to get there. Because speed without direction is meaningless, it's useless. Where are you in a hurry to? You have to know where you're going before you know that the speed is necessary or it's not necessary. So it's important that we understand where we are going. Where you are going is, in fact, the single most important thing that you can decide for yourself. Because once you know where you are going, immediately you know what won't get you there. And so if you have followed me for a while now, you know that I'm very big on vision. I'm very big on having goals. I'm very big on knowing your destination, because Charlie, it is what makes it's what makes everything worth it. You're going through some struggles, you're going through some hard times, your business is not picking up as it's supposed to. Things are not responding the way they are supposed to, and the single thing that makes everything worth it is because you know and understand where you are going, where you are heading, so that when you look into the future, 5 years from today, 10 years from today, and you see yourself at that peak of your career, or at that peak of at that pinnacle, where everybody looks up and you are a beacon of hope. When you look into your future and you see that outcome, when you see that possibility, then it makes your current struggles all the more worth it, because there's some lesson in there that you're supposed to pick from the struggles that you're going through right now. There are some opportunities right now that you need to identify and pick from the challenges you are facing, from the obstacles that you are having to deal with. And all of those things are playing a major role. They are playing a major part in preparing you to become the person that you need to be. And so it's very, very important that you make the single decision to stay put and make everything count. The difference. Now, if you can hear me, please type a Y in the comment section. If you can hear me, type a Y. If you're joining me on Facebook, this will be a good time to drop some heart, so I know that you can actually hear me loud and clear. So if you can hear me, drop a Y. If you're on Facebook, drop some heart. Thank you very much for the feedback. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you're also tuning in on YouTube, well, good to have you joining us as well. This is Dr. Kelvin coming to you live from my home office in Accra. And I'm happy that you chose to join me this evening as we share some wisdom from, yes, the richest man who ever lived. That's King Solomon. Tonight we are discussing King Solomon and some nuggets that he shared for us, or some nuggets that he left for us, so that we can leverage on his knowledge, leverage on his experience, so that we don't have to go through the things that he went through. Of course, he was a rich guy. So even if I went through the things he went through, that's so cool, All right, so off the bat, we are going to get started immediately. Now, I hope you are ready with your pen and your paper, and you are ready to make some notes, because like I said, these are heavy stuff. In fact, the time I've given myself is not enough to go through all the stuff that I picked up from Solomon. But we are going to go through just a few of them, just a gist. This is part one, and I'm going to give you a few pointers that, as an entrepreneur or somebody who has the plans or mindset of becoming an entrepreneur, these are concepts that, if you grasp, can make all the difference in your career or in your chosen path. These are things that if I had learned a long time ago, it would have changed a few things about myself. But hey, better late than never. And so you joining me this evening, I'm hoping that you're going to get value, significant value from what we are going to learn here, so that you can begin your journey all over again if you must. Now, if you are ready, I'm ready. Let's get going. So drop an X in the comment section, so I know that you are indeed ready for us to take off. Drop an X in the comment section quickly, so I know you are ready for us to take off. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now we all know Solomon. Solomon he's been credited as the richest man who ever lived. He was the third king of the biblical Israel. He's the son of David. He's the wisest man who ever lived. Of course, some have also called him the most foolish king. But that's another session, especially for another day. But today we are looking at the pointers that we can pick from him as entrepreneurs, so that it can make us more valuable as a people, so that others can see our value and would want to leverage on us. We become the platform. People can actually leverage on us and get to their destination. And you see, as in life, once you are valuable, once people recognize your value, money will chase you. And if you're excited about money chasing you, drop some hearts in the comment section, put your favorite emoji. If you're joining me on Zoom, put your favorite emoji there. If you're on YouTube, you know what to do, drop a heart in the comment section as well. If you want money to chase you, then the trick is to become valuable, because money or value commands its worth in gold. Value always demands its worth in gold. There are times that you give somebody a job, the person does such a great job that even though you agreed on paying him an amount X, when you see the outcome, when you see the job the person has done, you are forced to give him or her a bit more than you actually agreed to give him or her. I mean, and I know many of us have been in that situation before, where somebody does such a great job that we actually add some more money to whatever it is that we had agreed to give them and give it to them because they've done such a great job. That's what I mean. Become valuable, and everybody will recognize your value, and the money will literally fall on you from all around you. Okay, but let's get to my guy Solomon. Now me and Solomon, we are like buddies. I'm learning from him, and I'm hoping that I can apply them effectively and make the most out of it. Now, the first thing I want you to understand from Solomon, and this is actually a mistake a lot of us make. Solomon is actually, or was actually, the 11th son of David. Now, this is serious. Solomon is the 11th son of David. Now, if you look at this critically, 11th son of David, automatically, if your mind is going where I'm going, automatically tells you straight up, Solomon was not the next in line for the throne, period. Now, this is deep. Solomon was never the next in line for the throne. He was the 11th son. Yes, the first son died, the second son died, the third son also died. I mean, Absalom was the third son. Absalom was the second son. He also died. So obviously number one, number two were not, number one, number two, number three were not there. But there was a number four. Number four, Adonijah, he was there. He was the son of David. And if you look critically at the system that the Israelis or Israelites are running that time, it was supposed to be the firstborn who succeeds the father. I mean, if you go back to Isaac, and Jacob and Esau, Jacob and Esau, sons of Isaac, you understand that when Isaac was dying and wanted to bless his firstborn son, that blessing was supposed to go to Esau. But Jacob took that blessing, and that's why Esau hated Jacob, because Jacob had taken his rights. So when a father is dying or a father dies in the Jewish culture, it's the eldest son that's supposed to take over. So how does Solomon, being the 11th son, how does he become the king? How does he become king after David's death? Now, we'll go into the details, but the lesson I picked from this realization that the 11th son became the king, the lesson I picked from this realization as an entrepreneur is that, number one, you have to realize that being first does not make you the greatest, period. Especially, and this is more real, especially for those who are involved in network marketing, because sometimes a company comes into the system and they tell you that get in fast and so that you can get a good position. So you are in a hurry to get in fast. So even though you may have been building something good on this side, because a new company has come, the shiny object syndrome, you want to go in there and position yourself. So you jump ship quickly so that you can get a good position. Listen, your position doesn't make a difference in this world journey that we are on. It's not about your position. It's not about the time you get started. Solomon was son number 11, but he became king after David. So that is, I'm using this to set the ball rolling. That it does not matter who you are, where you are. You can be called on to lead. You can be called on to be the face of whatever it is that you're getting yourself into. Provided that you have you are the right person. And so the question I'm asking you is: are you the right person for the business? Are you the right person for the vision? Are you the right person for the destination you're heading? Because Solomon knew who he was. He was number 11. But he was aware that he was going to be king. And that brings me to point number 2. Even though Solomon was son number 11, Solomon was chosen by God. In other words, Solomon had a calling. Like Solomon had a revelation. Like God appeared to David, and God told David that your son Solomon will be the king after you. Solomon was chosen to be king, even though he was son number 11. You understand what I'm saying? So there was a purpose on Solomon's heart. on Solomon's life, sorry, God had placed the demand on him already, even though he was not the right person for the kingship. But God had chosen him to be the king because he had said that David had been fighting a lot of wars, and so he wanted a man of rest. And if you look through the sons of David, you realize that the next in line, who was Adonijah, was also a man of, he was an aggressive guy ready to fight. In fact, we'll talk about it shortly. So he wasn't obviously the one who was fit to rule after David, because God wanted to stabilize the kingdom of Israel. And so that's why the mantle fell on Solomon. So Solomon was chosen. But, and here's the lesson, even though Solomon was chosen to be king, and he was chosen by none other than God himself, the Israelites had that relationship with God. In case you don't know, I'm telling you, the Israelites had a relationship with God where they could actually, go to him, and then he came to them. It's been like that all through history. And David also had an encounter with him through the prophets. And so people knew that Solomon was next in line. All the household of David knew that Solomon was next in line. Yet Solomon's rise to kingship did not happen without issues. There were issues before Solomon was given his rightful position. This son Adonijah that I keep mentioning had also gone to try and usurp the throne. He was still stuck in the cultural mindset where he was of the opinion that if my father dies, I am the eldest son, so the kingship is mine. And so he was forcibly trying to take that kingship away from Solomon, even though Solomon had been chosen. And so again, as an entrepreneur, what I realize, or what this speaks to me, what this tells me is that you might, you have ignored your position. The fact that you are from Africa and it's already difficult, coming out of Africa and building a successful business is difficult. We all know it, but you've managed to push through, and you are getting there. Your business is picking up gradually. Then out of nowhere, wham, some unplanned, unbudgeted, inexcusable mistake, an error, a clerical something, or a government policy comes and slaps you in the face. The point is, even if God himself had revealed to you the business to start, it does not mean that things are going to go smoothly. And so once again, you have this idea, brilliant idea. Everybody you spoke to was in love with the idea. Some people even went ahead and gave you money to make the idea a reality. So you went in there, invested heavily into that idea. Then out of nowhere, government policy changes, tax regime changes, and everything is causing your business not to take off. And then you're asking yourself why. You're asking God why. Why are you letting this happen? Well, God is telling you that the fact that I've given you the land does not mean that you can just do with it whatever you want. No, it's not going to happen. You understand? But you have to also look at the fact that in spite of the opposition that Solomon faced, he was still able to push through and eventually become the king, and the rightful king. And interestingly, Solomon never fought any war. Yet Solomon is the only king of Israel who was actually able to fulfill the promise that was given to Abraham in terms of occupying the land, the promised land. Solomon is the only one who actually managed to occupy the entire promised land. He was able to secure the entire promised land for the kingdom of Israel. And so it tells you automatically that, and this is a cliche, an old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Oftentimes we assume that we have to fight physically for the things we want, the things that God has given to us, the things that the prophets have told us. If you are watching me now and you have never had an encounter with the prophet who has told you your future or something, please drop it in the comment section. If you have actually had such an encounter, drop a P in the comment section, because I know a lot of us have had such an encounter where they'll tell you that, hey, you are meant to travel, hey, you are meant to be a great person, hey, kings will come and bow at your feet. They've told us all those things, yeah, Charlie. But where are the kings bowing at your feet? I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that even though Solomon had that clear prophecy, it took a lot of push for that purpose, or that prophecy on his life to become a reality. And even though when it did become a reality, after he had stood his ground and pushed his way to make it a reality, he, without lifting a sword, was the only king who was able to fulfill the prophecy that was given to Abraham. And so sometimes you have to realize that it is not about your physical strength. It is not about your ability to fight. It's not about your ability to do all those things. It's about your mind, the mindset you have. It's about the knowledge and the information you have at your disposal, the experience you have, the wisdom you apply. That's going to help you to achieve your goal. It's not everything that you do by force. Some things you do by what's it called? Some things you do by gentle nudging. Sometimes you have to use testing the honey and the stick and carrot approach. You don't have to always beat the horse. Sometimes you can just place a carrot in front of him and the horse will still move. Knowing when to apply what can make all the difference. But Solomon, without fighting anyone, and you see, wars are very, very expensive to fight. Now, if you have watched any of the war movies or you have read about any of the wars, you realize that it is super expensive to fight a war. You understand? And so it's possible that one of the reasons why Solomon became the richest man ever was the fact that he never fought a war. And so the resources that he would have used to fight a war, he actually had those resources to invest elsewhere. You understand? And so just by using his mind, he was able to amass wealth and cut down on necessary expenditure. And so, my brother, some of the expenditures that some of the things you are expending on, it's kind of like people fighting wars. They are not necessary. You can achieve the same victory without lifting a sword. Think about it. As a businessman, how can you apply this information to your business so that you can get the best outcome? You see, because you have to understand that when it comes to wealth building or wealth creation, it is not so much about how much you are earning. You can be earning $1 million a month and you will still not be wealthy. Why? Because you are not keeping any of that money. None of that money is being paid to yourself. When you read a book like The Richest Man in Babylon, they will tell you that any gold I earn, a part of it is for me to keep. So if you are earning $1 million, you are not keeping any part of it, you are not going to be wealthy. You understand? And so how much you keep makes all the difference. So if you do not have to go and fight unnecessary wars, I'm reading a book, Dominion Mandate, and today's page or today's chapter I read was talking about the fact that some enemies are not necessary. Like there are some people that you don't need to make enemies out of. There are some people that when they slap you, turn the other cheek and let them slap you. It's not even about what Christ said, because you do not have the capacity to fight them. So bide your time. Keep quiet, take the pain, and walk away. Yes, walk away. It is better to live to fight another day than to fight today and die. You understand? And so, do not make enemies where you don't need to make enemies. Some people will intentionally come your way, crisscross you just to trip you so that you can fall. Listen, when they trip you, you see the trip. Sometimes you must intentionally trip and fall because if you don't fall, they will keep attempting to make you fall, and it's going to cost you more. Financially, it's going to cost you more relationships. It's going to cost you more resources to avoid the trip. So sometimes you must intentionally fall, because when you fall, you make them happy. Then you defer your retaliation for when you actually have the capacity. This is wisdom applied, and I'm learning all this from Solomon. It's very, very, very important. Now, the third thing I get from Solomon. Solomon became king at the age of 20. Did you know that? Did you actually know that Solomon became king at the age of 20? If you knew that Solomon became king at the age of 20, please type a yes in the comment section. Let me know if I'm the only one that didn't know. Did you know that Solomon became king at the age of 20? Did you know? Drop in the comment section if you didn't know. 15? Wow, no, that's too early. It's actually 20. 20 years. That's when Solomon became king. So now Solomon became king at the age of 20. That's a very young age, especially in those days. Very, very young. 20. That's very, very young. But this one, I'm not going to even talk plenty. It just tells you that age is just a number. Age does not mean anything. What matters is how ready you are. You see, there's a difference between being old and being elderly. And if in case you don't know the difference, then let me try and explain the difference to you. Being old and being elderly, an old person or an elder, there's a difference. Old is just numerical. You are 10 years older than me, so that means you are older. But to be an elder is a function of experience. It's a function of experience. Now, I hope you understand what I'm saying. Being old or being older is just a number, being numerically at an advanced age than me. So when you compare the two of us per our age, I'm 35, you are 36, you are older than me. But being an elder is a function of experience. So you can have a 15-year-old person who is more elderly than a 30-year-old person because of the experience that that 15-year-old has actually amassed. That 15-year-old may actually be a graduate from university of something, of maybe a Harvard graduate at 15. Yes, there are actually people like that. And so when you bring that 15-year-old to discuss, let's say, engineering, which is the subject that he has actually graduated in at 15, and you put me, who has no experience in engineering, and you put us together and ask us to debate why the bridge failed or why the bridge collapsed. At that point in that discussion, that 15-year-old is elderly because he has more experience, more knowledge, more wisdom when it comes to engineering, why that bridge has fallen down. The challenge we have as Africans is that per our culture, we are forced to ascribe elderly respect or elderly credentials to people just by virtue of their age. And so we listen to advice from people who we have no business listening to for any advice because they are not elderly. They don't have any experience in the areas that we are going to. I mean, how do you discover, how do you get introduced to a business opportunity? And your first instinct is go and discuss that business opportunity with somebody who has never experienced that business opportunity. And then when that person gives you an opinion and says that that business opportunity is doomed to fail, then you listen to that person and you don't act on that business opportunity because of the advice of somebody who you thought was an elder because you assume he has experience. Meanwhile, he's just an old person but has no experience. And so be careful who you allow to speak into your life because that person can literally be the death of you. And this is real. This is true. A lot of us have allowed people who have no business speaking into our lives to actually speak into our life, and it has cost us a lot. It has cost us a lot of opportunity to actually make a decent living, an opportunity to make impact, because we listen to the wrong people. We ascribe elderly credentials to the wrong people. This is very, very important. So be careful who you ascribe elderly credentials to, because to be an elder is a function of experience. So the person you are discussing your life with has got no experience in the area you are discussing with him or her. You should not allow him to impact your decision. Very, very, very important. All right. Now, at this point, if you have caught some value from all that we shared, I'd like to hear from you. Tell me what you've learned so far. So go ahead and type in the comment section exactly what you are picking from what I'm sharing. If there's one thing that has stood out to you or for you in this short session, let me know right now what exactly has hit you. Give me some feedback in the comment section. If you have got some value from what we are sharing already, please give me some feedback in the comment section. Let me know what you think, what you've learned so far. I'd like to know some feedback so that I know where I'm going. I know whether I'm actually we're on the same page, or I need to slow down, or I need to pick it up. I need to go deeper. Let me know. Give me some feedback. So what are you hearing? What are you learning from what we are sharing right now? Let me hear from you in the comment section. So whilst we wait for you, yes, Emmanuel said being first does not make you the greatest or the best for that matter. Yes, that's very, very true. Anymore, keep it coming, guys, keep it coming. Let me know, give me some feedback. Let me know that you're actually benefiting from what we are doing here. So if we go back, yes, what will influence you? Thank you very much, Irene. So if we go back to Solomon, now Solomon was 20 years when he became king, but Solomon had been prepared for the position. Now I mentioned earlier that Solomon had been chosen by God. God had spoken to David and told David that Solomon will be your king, your successor. And so from the time that God revealed this to David, David started preparing Solomon. So which then means that by the time Solomon became king, it was no surprise to him because he had been prepared for the position. He was ready to take the reins. So even though he was 20, he was an elder already because he had experience. In fact, before David died, he did an unusual thing. He actually crowned Solomon king before he died. And so for a couple of years before David died, both Solomon and David were ruling. They were co-regents. And so Solomon had ruling experience. He was not just thrust into kingship when David died. No, David actually crowned him king whilst he was alive, so that the two of them were ruling at the same time. So Solomon had a lot of experience before David died. So Solomon was an elder when he became king. So he didn't jump into kingship with no experience. He had all the experience that he needed to have. In fact, if there's one thing that David did right, is the fact that he positioned his successor in the right way so that his legacy would continue. And this is great. This is one thing that we need to learn from David. I know we are discussing Solomon, but this is one thing that we have to learn from David. Many of us do not transfer our knowledge. We do not transfer our experiences to our children. We just leave them our property and expect them to magically do with it. Do well with it. How many times have you not seen rich men die and their legacy be whittled down because the people that took over had no clue how to run their business, how to sustain their business, because their father or their mother did not show them the ropes. They assumed that by sending them to good schools, by giving them good education, they can naturally come in and take over the position. But if the education in schools was what was going to get them was the right kind of education, many of us will be wealthy already. But obviously, we are all not wealthy, and it's because education you are receiving in school is not geared towards wealth creation. And so, if you are able to amass wealth or accumulate wealth, the best thing you can do to those behind you is to transfer your knowledge, to transfer the principles that got you there, so that when they come in, they can continue from where you left off. And so that's something I learned from Solomon as well. And so in your business, as you are building your business, as you are gathering the experience and the knowledge and all the wisdom you are gathering from your business, if you want your business to traverse your existence, then you have to be able to transfer that experience, transfer the knowledge to the next generation. And that's why, for instance, for me, that's why I hold these sessions, that's why I do training, so that the experience that I'm getting, as I'm getting the experience, as I'm getting the knowledge, I'm sharing it with everybody in my space, everybody in my organization, so that they can also begin to acquire the skills, the principles that are needed to sustain the business. Because once your business is sustainable, once the next guy's business is sustainable, it comes back to me. And so it's important that I transfer the information, transfer the knowledge, so that then I can actually have the lifestyle I'm looking for, which is that I can go to the beach, cross my legs, and watch the money fill my account. That is the ultimate goal here, and for that to happen, the knowledge must be transferred. And so, this is beautiful. All this from just studying Solomon is amazing. Number 4 thing I want to touch on quickly. Number 4 I want to touch on is that Solomon actually had a very clear purpose. God told David that I want Solomon, your son, to build my temple. And so before Solomon became king, he already knew what purpose God had set out for him. Now I don't know, this is funny. How many of us here live, watching me live, or even on the replay, how many of us have heard God clearly tell them their purpose? I know God hasn't clearly told me my purpose. But I have an idea what my purpose is, because I know where I flow. I know there's a zone that when I enter, I can close my eyes. You can wake me up on sleep, and I'll just flow. So I have an idea. I know where I'm leaning towards. But God did not, appear to me and tell me that your job is to build a temple. That would have been so easy for everybody. If God tells you that your destination is Kumasi, so get up and go to Kumasi. Once you hear so clearly from God that your destination is Kumasi, my God, what are you doing in Accra? I wish God would tell me like that. But God told Solomon that your purpose is to build my temple. That's it. That's what God told him. And so when Solomon became king, he already knew what he was there to do, to build God's temple. That's all God told him to do. And to even make it more juicy, God had told David that is what I want Solomon to do. And David, the father, went ahead and put together all the resources that were needed for the construction of the temple. And so when Solomon became king, 1, he knew his purpose. He knew the reason why he was there. And 2, there was no lack. All the resources that were needed for the temple to be built were already provided. But here's the catch. In fact, 3, there's a third point. So 1, he already knew his purpose. 2, all the resources were available. And 3, he already had experience as the king, because he had been ruling with David already for a couple of years before David died. And yet, when he became king, when David died and he was now king of Israel by himself, he didn't construct the temple. I don't know if you are aware about this. Solomon did not construct the temple when he became king. It took him 4 years before the temple foundation, the work on the temple actually began. 4 years. So it was in the 4th year of Solomon that the temple building began. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, why did it take him 4 years to build something that he knew was his purpose? He already had the resources to build it. He already had the experience of kingship. So why did it take him so long to actually start building the temple? It blew my mind. I was wondering why. And I actually spent quite a few hours pondering over this subject. Why? Because like I said, he knew that was his purpose. He had the resources already. He had been king for a while before David died. So why didn't he immediately start building the temple as soon as David died? Because God had said that he didn't want David to build the temple. So at least we know that even though Solomon had been king for a while before he died, before David died, maybe that's why the temple was not built. So but immediately David died, there was no more David, which means that now the path was clear for you to build a temple, but he still didn't. It took him 4 years before they started building the thing, So, but the secret is, what did he do in those 4 years? That is what makes all the difference, and that is where I want to focus on this evening, so that you understand what was going on in those 4 years. 4 years before the foundation was laid. And in that 4 years, he did 3 things. Solomon did 3 things, and I want you to pay attention. Now, you must understand that David was a fighting man. He was a warrior. And so the state of Israel was always ready for war. That is the setup that they had. The government they had in Israel under David was a government that was poised for war. And so if you make a mistake of attacking David, they will amass the army quickly and retaliate. They were ready for war. And so when Solomon came into kingship, you cannot use a war mentality to build a temple, because when you're fighting wars, you have no time to build to put up fancy building, because somebody will come in and destroy that fancy building. And so the reason why Solomon did not build a temple immediately he became king was that he needed to, number one, reorganize his government. Because Solomon came in to give rest, to give stability. And so he cannot give stability if the people are always ready for war. And so the first thing Solomon did was to reorganize the government and point the government in a way that would promote stability. And that was amazing. That was a lot of gumption, a lot of initiative for Solomon to do that, because he recognized immediately that I cannot build a temple with this mindset. I cannot build a temple with this kind of people around me. We have to change all of those things. Now, as a business, this is one thing I want you to take from this. Are there people in your life right now? Are there people in your team right now that you are carrying them towards a destination where they are not fit to be, or where they don't agree to go? They are not in sync with you. Are you carrying dead weight? Are you taking people to Kumasi when the people don't want to go to Kumasi? They want to go to Ho. Now, there's no relationship between Ho and Kumasi. Ho is this, Kumasi is this way. You cannot force somebody to go to Kumasi when the person wants to go to Ho. It is not a place that you can drop by the way. You cannot carry the whole person and drop it by the wayside. It is not possible. And so if you have people in your organization, if you have friends who don't agree with your vision and you are trying to carry them along, you are behaving like David in a time of Solomon. Because in Solomon's time, there's no war. Solomon has not been given a war spirit. Solomon is never going to fight a war. And so if you are in Solomon's team and your mindset is war, you are in the wrong team. You cannot have peace of mind. And because you cannot have peace of mind, you are going to give Solomon a hard time. And Solomon needs to cut you out so that he can now focus on his purpose, his vision, his goal. Solomon cannot achieve his goal of building a temple if the people around him are not ready to build a temple. Now, this is deep, and if all you understand tonight is this point I've just raised, my job is done. My job is done. That's it. This is wisdom from himself. He had to reorganize his government. He had to reorganize the people around him, because he needed a certain kind of people who were ready to lay foundations, to lay stability, and not go to war. And so he had to change his government. The second thing he needed to do was to secure supply channels. Because even though David had gathered almost everything that he needed, there are some perishable things that David could not have gathered for him. Imagine if David had gathered wood and some fabric, and gathered the fabric there for someone to come and use. Now, assuming the fabric was going to wait 10 years before someone would build the temple, the fabric would rot. And so there are things, even though David had gathered most of the things, there were things that David could not gather for Solomon. Solomon had to find those things himself. And so in those 4 years, what he did was that he found the supply chain to sustain the building of the temple. He formed the right alliances. One particular person that he got in touch with was Hiram, where one of the kings in the neighboring country, who had skilled labor. So he formed an alliance with this king. This king supplied him with skilled labor, supplied him with material for the building of the temple. And this is very, very, very important. So you are trying to start a business. Let's say a sachet water business. You have not even done the study to find out how much the packaging for the sachet water costs. You don't know how much the machine costs. You just get up and go and register a company. How is that going to work out? You don't know the capital requirements. You don't even know the month-to-month expenditure. You have to sit down and plan these things, identify all of those things, plug all the loopholes, and then you can start because if you don't have all these things locked down and you just jump into the business, you're going to fail. Solomon was determined not to fail, so he had to put all the structures in place so that he does not fail. You understand? This is very important, and he knew all of these things because he had been prepared. He had studied. He understood what his purpose was. And so he had learned all that he needed. He had not built a temple before, but he had learned of all of these things, and he had connected with the experts so that he now had people he can leverage on so that he can actually get to his destination, actually achieve his goal. Very, very important. Now, if you understand, or if you are still with me and you agree with everything I've said, please drop a Y in the comment section. If you are joining on Facebook, please drop some hearts over there. And if you're on YouTube as well, let me feel your presence by dropping a comment in the comment section so that I know that indeed what I'm saying is resonating with you. Thank you very much for that feedback. I'm super, super excited. So this is the reason why it took him 4 years. It took him 4 years to do it because he was preparing. He was putting things in place. And guess what? Building the temple took 7 years. It took 7 years to complete the temple. Again, if we go by, if we put this in the context of our business, you have to understand that it takes time and patience to achieve your goals. You join the business and you determine that I want to get to this point. I want to achieve this. I want to make 100,000 cedis every month. It's not going to happen overnight. This promise was given to Solomon by God. God himself told him that you are going to build my temple. David provided the materials. And yet it took 7 years to complete the temple. You and I have not heard directly from God, which means that it's going to be, first of all, it's going to take a while for us to even decide where we are going. That is time that you have to factor into your planning. And after we decide where we are going, we have to now amass the resources. Solomon even had the resources already, but it took him 7 years. You and I don't have the resources, so it's going to take us another more time to gather the resources before finally we can now begin the building, before we can now begin going towards our destination. So time is needed between here and there, between your here and your there. You need time. You need guidance, you need mentors, you need help, you need resources. All these, it takes time to acquire all these things. So do not be in a hurry to jump ship. Do not be in a hurry to stop what you are doing. Once you are convicted, once you know where you're going, once you understand the risk involved and you commit to it, stay put, stay focused, keep pushing. Yes, it's going to take some time, but you will get there eventually. Don't give up too early. Sometimes we give up too quickly. At the first sign of trouble, we give up. No, don't give up. Keep pushing, because ultimately it is only those who stay the course who are going to actually achieve the goal, and the goal will come to them. If you don't stay the course, nobody even remembers you. Nobody remembers you. Nobody knows you. It is only those who become successful they are the only ones who are going to be remembered. So stay the course, keep pushing. If it's not working, change the route, change the path, but do not take your eye off the destination, because the destination is still the same. So keep pushing. You'll definitely get there. And I'm going to wrap up shortly. But the last one I want to touch on, because this part one, we cannot exhaust this in the short time that we have, but this part one, and this is point number 5, I want to quickly just go through. Now, Solomon built, and this is very important, Solomon built the temple of God first before he built his palace. Solomon built the temple of God first before he built his palace. Now, before we can dissect this point, let's understand what the temple actually represents, because I know that sometimes when I say temple, people I mean, because I'm using a lot of religious connotation, people think I'm preaching. In fact, I've got a personal message. Somebody says I'm preaching. I'm not. Yeah, fine. But I want to bring it home. I want to make it real to you. What does the temple actually represent? What does the temple represent? Or what does the building of the temple actually represent? What does it mean? Now, if you know anything about government, or if you know anything about running a country, you understand that construction plays a major role in economic activity. In fact, if you have actually built a house yourself, if you have built your own house, you will understand what I'm saying. And the materials you need, that's money going out there. You have to take money and then go and buy sand. You take money, go and buy cement. Take money, go and buy a block. People out there are receiving the money that you are bringing. Then you have to pay construction workers. You have to pay for permits. You have to do this and that. Construction industry is one of the industries that if a country wants to generate wants to create employment, or they want to revamp the economy, construction in the industry is one place that they heavily invest in. In recent history, if you go to California during the time of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was governor, one of the strategies that he used to revamp or to kickstart the economy of California was construction. He literally recommissioned the construction of the entire drainage system of California. The entire there's a term, there's a name he called it. I forgot it. It's not coming to me right now. But the entire infrastructure, the government's infrastructure was renovated. Let's put it that way. And that single act alone was able to spark the economy of California, because with the amount of money that is required and the number of people that you are paying, the movement of money, causes a boom in the economy, because once there's money to spend and people are buying and people are selling, everybody is happy. And so the building of the temple represents an economic boom that Solomon initiated. Solomon, by cutting the source for the construction of the building, the economy of Israel at that time was reignited. So everybody was getting involved, everybody was getting money, everybody was excited about it, because once if I go into the forest and I cut wood, there's somebody ready to buy. If I go into the mine and I dig my coal, or I dig my limestone or whatever, somebody's ready to buy it. The king is ready to buy it. So there was a lot of productivity that was ignited because of Solomon building the temple. So the temple represents a source of income. The temple represents a source of income. Many of us, we do not develop our source of income, but then we start spending. We start spending on buying cars. We start spending on building houses. Meanwhile, the source of money, the source of income that we need to keep giving us income is not well developed. Solomon recognized that he cannot build his palace if he does not have a source of income. So he has to start the economy. He has to make the economy work for him. And so that is what the temple represents, a source of income. The temple also was a source of income in the sense that it was going to bring in tourists. People were going to come from near and far to come and worship there, to come and see the edifice, because it was the first temple. You understand? It was a magnificent building, never before seen, gold, bronze, all those things. People would come and look at them. That also brings a second source of income. So the building of the temple was indeed a business decision that definitely was going to pay off. And that is why it was important for him to build the temple first before he even built his palace. The temple also represents a source of authority, a symbol of authority. A symbol of authority for him as a king. So that is part of the reason. What's the point of building a palace if no one, like, the palace is where you go to sleep? It does not represent a symbol of authority. So the temple was that thing, and the temple could be seen. It was on the high mountain, so it could be seen from very far. So it was that symbol that, if you actually read the Bible, you realize that the temple actually stood for 400 years, right? It was King Nebuchadnezzar who came to dismantle the temple, to break it down, to demolish the temple. And you realize that when that temple was demolished, it broke the spirit of the Israelites. And there was no will to even fight. And so that is why they were sent to slavery in Babylon. You see, so that symbol of authority is what the Israelites looked to. It gave them hope. It gave them some form of power, So it was important that that temple needed to be completed. But more importantly, the temple also represented a place of learning. Because Solomon realized that if he's going to be king, if he's going to rule over people, he needed to bridge the knowledge gap. Solomon, had already been prepared for the position. He had been in training for a long time, so he had a certain level of expectation, of the people. But the people were down here. How can he bring them up to his level so that when he moves, they can move with him? So he needed a temple as a place of learning. And if you look through history, or if you look through the Bible and other resources, even if you look at Jesus, when Jesus and his parents traveled to Jerusalem when he was 12 years old and he got missing, when they found him, what did he say? He said, "I'm in my father's house, I'm learning." So the temple is a place where the people went to learn. So that he had to create a place where they can go and learn, acquire knowledge, so that they can move together as one force. Because if he was all the way here and he was all the way there, it would be very difficult for him to achieve the thing that God has set up for him. So he needed a place of learning, because wealth is not in a place. When people say that I need to travel for greener pastures, you do not travel for greener pastures. No, your wealth is found in people. And so if you want to be wealthy, you have to make people around you you have to be resourceful to the people around you, because the wealth is found in them. Every wealthy person that we have in our life today is significant in the lives of thousands and thousands of people. That is what wealth is. Talk about Musk. His technology is being used by thousands and thousands of people. Bill Gates' technology is being used by so many people. Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, all these guys are relevant in thousands of people. So wealth is not in a place. Today, Mark Zuckerberg can decide to get up and go and live in Australia, back there somewhere. Nobody knows where he is, but he will still be wealthy. Why? Because his technology is changing the lives of individuals all over the world. The wealth is in the people. It's not in a place. So that is why Solomon was so keen on completing the temple, and that's why he actually did complete that temple. And so my message to you today is that if you want to go somewhere, if you have a destination in mind and you want people to go with you, you need to create a system such that the people can actually learn, a place for people to learn, or a place for people to increase their knowledge, for people to feel valued, for people to feel like there's a place for them to have continuous development. This is so important in whatever that we are doing, because once they feel valued, once people feel welcome, once people feel like you are investing in them, they will definitely want to be with you. They want to go with you wherever you are going. And so instead of pulling them along and keeping them in the dark, open their eyes, let them see the big picture, share your vision. One thing I learned from my mentor is that when you meet somebody who can change your destiny, don't tell him or her your problems. No, tell him your vision. Where are you going? Where do you see yourself? And so if you want to recruit people into your organization, don't tell them about the problem. Don't tell them about the fact that the economy is bad. We know we are all living in the economy. Stop telling them about the economy being bad. We are there. Don't tell them about COVID. We are all in the COVID together. I don't need to know. You don't need to come and tell me about COVID. I live it every day. Tell them about your vision. Where are you going? How can you help me? How can you help them? Let your vision lead. Let your vision lead, because vision attracts. And so when you share your vision, and if I agree with your vision, then I'm coming in not as a burden, but I'm coming in as a partner, so that we can forge ahead together. But if you come and tell me problems, even if I do join a business, I'm going to be a burden on you, because I'm going to expect you to solve my problem. Because when you came to me, you told me about problems and how your business can solve my problems. No, I want you to tell me about your vision, so that when I identify your vision, then as for the how to achieve the vision, we can work it out together. But if you tell me that you are going to solve my problems, then it means that you have a way, and I'm coming to use your way. I'm coming to use you. So when people come into your business the wrong way, they're going to continue with the wrong practices, and it's going to affect you yourself, because you are then forced to carry dead weight, and nobody can carry dead weight for too long. Ask any soldier. As far as they are training, they will actually stimulate one person is shot. Then you have to carry the person on your shoulder and run. And ask them how long they can do that. That's dead weight. You cannot run for long with another human being on your shoulder. And so imagine you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 dead weight that you're carrying around. It's no wonder that you are struggling in your business. It's time that you let your vision lead. It's time you let your vision lead. What is your vision? What's your destination? What's your purpose? Where are you going? Make that clear in your mind. and everything else will fall in line. Obviously, when you begin to move according to your vision, you're going to lose some people, but that's okay. That's okay. You don't need everybody to believe in your vision. You just need one person to believe in your vision. That's all. One person is enough. Because where two or three are gathered, the Lord is present in your midst. So all you need is one person to believe in you, to believe in where you're going, and everything else will fall in line. And so this evening, I came to share with you to let you know that, yes, times are hard, business is difficult, things are not going as it's supposed to go through, but there's still a way out. And that way out is that you have to learn. You have to learn. First of all, you need to find a mentor. You cannot make the same mistakes that have already been solved 10 years ago. No, find a mentor so that mentor will give you privilege. Solomon had privilege. He had the mentorship of David, his father. David showed him how to do and what to do and all of those things. And when David died, David gave him men who could also guide him. So he was never alone. He had people to show him where to go and what to do. So you need a mentor. People who have done what you are trying to do. People who are already at your there so that they can show you how to get to your there. It's very, very important. That's actually a quote I got from David Imoniti. He said, you are here and you want to get there. There's somebody already there. Or you don't need to struggle to get there. Just ask the person how you got there so that he can guide you to your there. That's it. And these are some serious, significant lessons I learned from Solomon that I'm sharing with you this evening. When you apply these things, you become valuable. And when you're valuable, even the company will begin to recognize your value and they will want to leverage on you. And once people are leveraging on you, the money will start flowing. Money will start falling on you because value will demand its worth in gold. So that's what I have for you this evening. I do hope that has been beneficial to you. If you have indeed learned something from what we shared today, please go ahead and drop it in the comment section. Drop your comment, drop your point, your learning point in the comment section. Let me know that indeed you have learned something from me and that it hasn't been a complete waste of time. So give me some feedback. If what you have heard is good, if what you have heard is valuable, please type value in the comment section. And you can go ahead and type exactly what it is that you have learned from me this evening and how you're going to apply it to your business, to your life, to your career, to whatever it is that you're involved in, so that to give me them to carry to prepare for the part two, because there's so much information that I can get from from this study that I'm doing. It's really, really mind blowing, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share some of it with you. But of course, I do encourage you to also do your own research. So that it's not going to be my word; it's going to be your own revelation, your own realization, and you're going to apply it to your business and to whatever it is that you're involved in. If you want to go there, ask the people there. Yes, that's it. Ask and you shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Anyway, so thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of this evening's discussion, and thank you very much for the feedback you're giving me. If you want the replay, you can check out the replay on my YouTube channel. You can just type Kelvin Owusu, the replay is there, or you can check out my Facebook page as well, Kelvin Owusu. The replay will be there as well. Thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely time. Stay blessed. Peace.